Hey everybody, 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗲𝗲 here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about deliberate and emergent strategies, and I'm going to be giving you some resources for developing your own strategy. And that might be your strategy in business, in life, or maybe just in a classroom. So let's get right into it. Behind me you can see some information about different types of strategies and some tools that we're going to be using to understand how to make our own strategy. So first of all, what is a deliberate strategy and what is an emergent strategy? These are things that people sometimes talk about, but maybe you've never heard of them. A deliberate strategy, this is, the classic strategy that you think of when someone says this word, strategy. So if someone said strategy to you, what would you think of? This is probably what you'd be thinking of. Classic business example, business definition maybe of strategy. So here it is. It says annual strategic thinking, budgeting, planning, execution. I mean, what else could a strategy include, right? That's pretty much it. So when you think of a strategy and having a strategy, especially in a business, then this is probably what you're thinking of. Now, that's not the only strategy that there is. So that's the surprising thing. That's probably what you're going to learn today in this video. So, the deliberate kind of strategy, this means that we decided that this is what we're going to do and we do it. And one of the key things that's here is annual strategic thinking. So usually there's an annual plan. One time per year, we need to have a plan for the next year where we decide what? We decide a budget. We decide what we're going to do. We decide how we're going to do it. This is a typical deliberate kind of strategy. Now, let's also talk about emergent strategy. And this is a little different, and this might be the first time that you're hearing it, so stay with me. Emergent strategy. This is a continuous process of testing and learning. Now, testing, learning, those sound more like education words, right? So because we're interested in teaching as a business, and because we're interested in teaching other people, in the classroom as teachers and instructing people, then this is probably what we want to know about, right? The other one sounded too much like business. It sounds like a big corporation, right? And that's why a lot of people are put off by that kind of strategy. But emergent strategy, this is a little bit different. So an emergent strategy allows a lot of room or leeway for us to be more flexible. And that automatically probably sounds like, oh, that's what I want. That's better for me. But the truth is always in the middle. The truth is always somewhere in the middle when we have two polar opposites. So the same is here. The same is true for this too. That really the best kind of strategy to have, and really I guess this is my opinion, but I think it's been proven, is to have a mix of the two. You need to have some elements of your deliberate strategy and some elements of your emergent strategy. Now, to break it down and put it into much simpler terms, a deliberate strategy is one where you make the plan and then you try to do the plan that you made. And then after a certain period of time that you decided on, you go back and you're like, okay, let's make a new plan. Whereas an emergent strategy is more like you have a guess or a hypothesis or a very small plan and you tell people about it. And then as that starts to develop, you see what happens, and then you make more decisions from there and more tests and more hypotheses. So let's look at another understanding of this and how we can really use this in real life. So imagine that you're in a classroom and your deliberate strategy, or you might call it dominant strategy, because it's the one that most people are using, right? So it dominates the social space. So your deliberate strategy in a classroom might be what's written in your curriculum. It might be what's what you already have planned and what you're supposed to do for the year. Some schools have meetings once a quarter, once a year, or every twice a year. And during these meetings, you make a deliberate strategy. You say that this is how much time we're going to spend. That's budget, right? This is what we're going to do. That's planning. This is how we're going to do it. That's execution. Very corporate, very rigid, very structured, and very traditional. Now let's look at this non-traditional way of strategizing, which is emergent. So as things happen, as things progress, we can understand what we need to do. We're continuously testing and learning. So this kind of strategy would say, all right, let's go into this situation thinking about it like this, and then let's see what happens and adjust along the way. Now, of course, this is harder for management to accept because management loves deliberate strategy. Management wants to say, okay, people at the top, people who have the resources, people who have all of the knowledge, we need to make decisions, and then we need to let that trickle down, and everyone else in the organization needs to follow our lead, right? We know what we're doing, they don't know what they're doing, we have to show them how to do it. And this is where, you know, the deliberate strategy gives us a lot of the approaches where you have instructions for people who are, how do I say this nice? Very stupid. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of instructions out there that just seem like, how could anyone get this wrong? But people have made them because there's no wiggle room. There's no room for flexibility. Everything has to be done this way. So you have to follow the steps exactly like this. So a deliberate strategy will allow managers or people who run schools or independent teachers who are running their own teaching business to say, you have to do it exactly like this. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and explain it in stupid detail. Just lots of detail and probably unnecessarily so. So the emergent strategy, however, in a school system, in an education system, in an independent language business or an independent teaching business, emergent strategy is going to let us adapt to situations as they happen. So instead of giving people instructions on what they must do step by step, we will give them instructions on how to react to certain things that come up. Now that's a lot different. And it also leaves a lot of room for interpretation. And, you know, people who are stuck on counting numbers, managers, principals, people who only want the numbers, they don't like this usually. Now, that's one thing that we need. I love numbers, so don't get me wrong. I'm one of those people. I love numbers. I love the numbers. The numbers tell me what to do in most cases. But we need to have a mix. Remember, the truth is somewhere in the middle between the two strategies. So the emergent strategy in a teaching business setting or in a teaching organization, emergent strategy is going to give us strategies like when something happens, what we can do, approaches, let's call them, approaches to situations. So this is different. This is much different from our deliberate strategy that just tells us you have to do this. When this happens, you have to do this. Instead, it's here's what we're trying to achieve, and it allows the individual person to make their own decisions and to have more flexibility. Now, the benefit here, the biggest benefit is that, with the deliberate strategy, we're treating people like they're stupid, honestly. You probably have seen it in lots and lots and lots of situations, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. With the emergent strategy, we trust other people. We give them the benefit of the doubt that they're smart enough to figure it out, and there's some guidelines about what they need to do, but other than that, they can pretty much make their own decision. And that's great because freedom and trust are going to really, really help the organization develop in the right way. So let's talk a little bit more about the emergent strategy type, because this is probably the newest thing that you probably haven't heard of this before, and you might not have dealt with this before. So let's talk more about that. But remember that the truth is always somewhere in the middle. So to show you how this works, I just have a few examples. I'm going to show you two resources that I've developed to use for myself. And I'll just show you them right here. So there's two different charts that we're going to look at. And so those two different charts are going to be really useful. I think that you'll really like them. And I'm going to put them in the downloads under this video. So if you want to download them, go under the video and you'll be able to go to the link to the website. And on that page, you'll see all of the resources that you can download that go with this video, okay? So next, let's talk more about the emergent strategy. So emergent strategy, we need to have two different, let's call them reviews, okay? We have our before action review and we have our after action review, because there's lots of steps in the emergent strategy approach that we need to remember. Remember, we're not just making one plan and sticking to it for a year. Instead, we're developing approaches or strategies within our overall strategy so that we can react and so that we can properly deal with situations that come up. Basically, the emergent strategy is the belief that everything changes. So we need to change with it. If we have a rigid strategy that doesn't change, like our deliberate strategy, then we're saying that things don't change, that things only change once a year. And that's not true about life and about the world. So the emergent strategy approach is going to allow us to change more often because we're always testing and always learning, right? Okay, so we have our before action review and we have our after action review. Let's look at the before action review first. So in the before action review, we ask questions like, what are our intended results? So let's imagine that we're developing a new academic program. And this academic program is going to help people learn how to read better, okay? And if we're going to help them learn how to read better, then first of all, we want to do our before action review to understand what we need to do. Remember, all of this right now is about our strategy, which is basically what action we should take in our educational organization, teaching business. What action should we take? Now, you can use this about developing a program. You can also use this about how to get clients. You can also use this about how to organize your business or manage your business. So you can really use these about all different things. It's a strategy for life, okay? So what are our intended results? If our intended result is that 90% of the students should be able to read better, or they should be able to read 90% better, that's probably better, right? Then that's our intended result. So that helps us understand better what we should do because now we have our intended result. Now, what's another question that we might ask in this situation? We might say, what will success look like? All right, so what will success look like? That's another question that we could ask that will help us with our emergent strategy and will help us understand what we need to do now in order to get to where we want to be. So that again was, what will success look like? Next, what will make us successful this time? So comparing our past efforts and tries, what is going to make us successful this time? What's different this time? So these are just some samples of questions that we want to ask. In the downloads, there's a link under this video. Click the link, go to the website. You'll be able to download these resources. And in the downloads, you'll see that there are more questions about the before action review. Now, after we take action, we need to go back and measure again. We're not done. This isn't a deliberate strategy where we just say that it happens one time a year and that's it, and then follow the steps. No, we're always testing, we're always learning. So our after action review has other questions. Here's our after action review questions. What were our intended results? So again, we would already have some action that we took, and now we're kind of assessing it, right? We're looking at our hypothesis and what the results of that were. So what were our intended results? What were our actual results? What actually happened? What is our next opportunity to test what we have learned? And that's really important. Looking to the future to find the next opportunity to test out this strategy and to test out the new strategy that we're developing based on the feedback that we've just got. Okay, so now I just want to show you this chart that I've put together, and this is also going to be in the downloads. And this is something just to help you kind of give a visual picture to how this works, okay? So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to come down here so you can see what this looks like. All right, so you can see that we have past and future. And on this side, we have thinking, and we have facts and events. So each of these groups are really important because they are going to help us understand how everything works together, how we're moving from the past to the future, how we're moving from facts to just ideas that we're coming up with. And that's really important because most strategies don't really bring all of that stuff together. Okay, so let's go back and look at this. So here we have in the past and idea section, thinking in past, right? What's the same? So we need to think about what's the same between this strategy that we have and the previous strategy that we had, okay? What's the same? And we need to think about what's different. We also need to think about what's surprising. And that's mostly about feedback and what we've learned so far from our efforts. So from our previous strategy that we had, what was surprising about it? Maybe there was something that we thought 100% would work and it didn't. Maybe there was something that we were like, oh, you know, this probably isn't going to work, but let's try it. And it worked great. So what was surprising? And you can see that from our past thinking, we're going to go into future thinking. And that makes sense, I think. So now we have new ideas that we've gotten from asking these questions over here. And now we have next level thinking. Now, next level thinking is going to also allow us to do new things. So let's go back. Past thinking, that's what we've already tried, right? That's where we are now. Basically, we can look back at what already happened. This is our baseline truth, and then we can go to our insights, and this is what we see from the past, right? That's going to give us something that we see about the future, our hypothesis, our guess, our theory. And then that theory is going to give us an opportunity to try something. All right, and when we try it, when we do it, we have that opportunity, then we're going to have our new baseline truth. And this new baseline truth is going to be the new fact. And now we need to test that some more, and we need to see how that goes. So, okay, let's go back here again. So we have the baseline truth. This is past facts and events, things that have already happened in the past. So stories, research, data, evaluations, findings, all right? This baseline truth, things that already happened, are going to give us insights. And these are things that we see, our ideas about the past, right? Our ideas about the past, those are our insights. That's what we know or what we've already learned from our past events, from the truth. And like we said, the questions we need to ask here, what's the same? What's the same about what already happened in the past and what I'm trying to come up with now? What's the same? What's different? What has changed? What's surprising? We already talked about that. Then we go to our hypothesis. Here we have new ideas, next level thinking. Next level thinking basically means that you're not just thinking that the same thing's going to work. You have to change something up, and you've already learned something. You already have insights. So now you can look back and you're already on a higher level. That's next level thinking. And when you do that, now you have that hypothesis. Now you have that new theory, that new guess that you've made. Now you have opportunities. So here we have new initiative, something that we're going to implement. We have an upcoming event. We can change things before the event happens. We have important meetings. So as you can see, this is really, really helpful for developing your own strategy. And I'm going to repeat this again, and I've repeated it a lot of times. I'm going to say it again. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Don't think that a deliberate strategy is bad. Don't think that an emergent strategy is good. They both have some good and some bad in them. What you really need to do is be deliberately emergent. Deliberately emergent. That's the key. Find something right in the middle of the two and learn how to use both strategy approaches. All right, so thanks a lot for watching this video. Again, if you want to download the resources that I've included here, I'm going to put them in a PDF format. They're on the website. There will be a link to the website under this video, so just click this video. If you're watching on the website, then you're going to find the downloads under this video. And remember to come back to teachingrevolution.com if you want to find any other resources about how to improve your teaching approach, your teaching strategy, and if you want to find out more about running a teaching organization, an educational organization, or your own independent teaching business. So again, my name is 𝗙𝗵𝗹𝗲𝗲. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.